I was subjected to satanic ritual abuse, child sex trafficking, and torture from my birth in 1964 to age 18 in 1982, when I left, moved to the United States, and changed my name. I was involved through my Italian family line. I was tortured in an underground facility in Rome that had tunnels connecting it to the subterranean levels of the Vatican. I witnessed child sacrifice there and was trafficked from there and within the European elite. The satanic rituals occurred in the Vatican, as well as in elite mansions, in underground tunnels, and in private outdoor areas. What were the most common forms of abuse you were subjected to? The kinds of abuse I was subjected to include rape, gang rape, being forced to watch the torture and murder of animals and humans, ranging from babies to adults, electric shock, waterboarding, being buried alive with dead bodies, being put in coffins, being defecated and urinated on, watching people be disemboweled and having their entrails placed on me, various forms of mind control, horrific experiments on myself and witnessing them on others, being locked in a freezer, being kept in cages and isolation boxes for long periods of time, and watching satanic rituals below the Vatican, including the brutalization and sacrifice of babies and children, the ritualized drinking of their blood and organs, and the summoning of demonic entities via this ritual. What is your personal message for humanity? My message to humanity is that our world is controlled and run by satanic, pedophile psychopaths who are in the highest positions of authority and power globally. All our systems, be it media, medicine, religious institutions, education, intelligence agencies, military, global agencies, and governments, have been infiltrated at the top layers by this global cult. Pedophilia undergirds their system and is used as a mechanism of blackmail and control, as well as being part of the satanic religion. Children are still being ritually abused, trafficked, and murdered in the millions today. I am sharing my testimony because it is up to us to stop the abuse of children, and indeed the abuse of all of humanity. These people have used trauma-based mind control and succeeded with secrecy and deception, so exposing them is of paramount importance. They have poisoned our food, water, air, our bodies with pharmaceuticals and vaccines, our minds with media and miseducation, and they have convinced us they have authority over humanity. They have traumatized us with wars, terrorism, violence, weather warfare, poverty, scarcity, and engineered diseases. Their endgame is genocide of most and complete enslavement of remaining. They want us to openly worship Lucifer and normalize pedophilia, and we can see this happening today. They can only succeed with our compliance, consent, and cooperation. We need to know the truth so we can say no more. And we need to do our inner work, heal and restore ourselves, because when we do this, we step into our power, we can come together despite their many attempts to divide us, and together co-create a better way forward. Thank you.
She points at many very powerful people. She doesn't name very many names. In the book, she does name Prince Andrew, but there's others that she just alludes to. She calls them billionaire 1, billionaire 2, billionaire 3, a sadistic prime minister, soon to be governor of a Western U.S. state, and a former U.S. senator. These are the titles that she gave in the book, probably to protect the publisher. So who is she talking about? It's all still kind of speculative, but based on her prior accusations in unsealed Epstein documents, she talks about the sadistic prime minister. Giuffre describes an unnamed prime minister who raped her, choked her unconscious, laughing as she bled. This is Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel. And at the time, he was the prime minister when he was doing this. That is the allegation. Barak was a close Epstein associate. He visited Epstein's island and New York properties multiple times, flew on the Lolita Express, received millions from Epstein for a security firm. Who are the billionaires? She lists billionaire 1, billionaire 2, and billionaire 3. Billionaire 1 is likely Glenn Dubin, the hedge fund billionaire and co-founder of Highbridge Capital. Giuffre alleged in 2016 that she was trafficked to him for sex. He and his wife, Eva, were close Epstein friends. Billionaire 2 is likely Thomas Pritzker. She claimed in court filings that she was directed to have sex with him. And billionaire 3 is likely Leon Black. This is the private equity billionaire and Apollo Global Management co-founder, soon to be governor of a Western state. I think that is probably Bill Richardson, New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. Giuffre accused him in a 2016 deposition of having sex with her while underage. He was a former U.S. Energy Secretary, UN ambassador, and frequent Epstein guest. He was often on the flight logs for the Lolita Express. The former U.S. Senator is likely George Mitchell of Maine, who served between 1980 and 1995. Giuffre alleged in 2016 testimony that she was directed to have sex with him. He was a frequent Epstein associate and later a Middle East peace envoy under Obama. She endured many horrors. It was absolutely terrible. Her book is atrocious. I mean, this young girl, here she is at 13 years old. This is when they snatched her up, basically, from Trump's Mar-a-Lago and used her and abused her. And everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. She was so young. This is why we want the Epstein files. We want to know who was involved because they should be held accountable. But we also want to know who was involved because we want to know who's been compromised.
Whitney Webb posted on her Twitter about Les Wexner being a sex trafficker, a child sex trafficker in 2020. See if you can find that. Yeah, like that crazy chick is right about everything. This is the tweet. Your reminder that Leslie Wexner financed the mass rape and trafficking of thousands of American children for over a decade, and right now he is sitting in a 26K square foot mansion in New Albany, Ohio, thinking that he is above the law. She tweeted this in April 28th of 2020. How crazy is that?
Holy shit.
She's like the most prolific of all the conspiracy theorists, the most well-read, the one with the most recall, the one that's the most quoted. I don't know how she's so good at it. We're trying to get her on. I don't know how she's so good and what her background is, how she finds all this information, but she's always way ahead of all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, 2020.
That's crazy.
That's fucking way ahead of everybody.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Bro. But these files, just what's come out so far, and the fact that they redacted men. None of this is good for this administration. It looks fucking terrible. It looks terrible. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying that none of this was real. This is all a hoax. This is not a hoax. Like, did you not know? Maybe he didn't know, if you want to be charitable. But this is definitely not a hoax. And if you've got redacted people's names and these people aren't victims, you're not protecting the victim. So what are you doing?
Right.
And how come all this shit is not released? So we know Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem sent the torture video to Epstein. This is in 2009. So Epstein was saying that. Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video.
Jeez.
I am in China. I'll be in the U.S. second week of May. What the fuck, man? And why is his name redacted? Why would your name be redacted if you're not a victim? Like, this is what's crazy about all this. Like, how come you redact some people and you don't redact other people? Like, what is this? This is not good. None of this is good for this administration. It looks fucking terrible. It looks terrible. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying that none of this was real. This is all a hoax. This is not a hoax. Like, did you not know? Maybe he didn't know, if you want to be charitable. But this is definitely not a hoax. And if you've got redacted people's names and these people aren't victims, you're not protecting the victim. So what are you doing?
Right.
And how come all this shit is not released? Like
You would think that all of it would just, like, get rid of all of it. Just expel it all.
It's crazy. So this is the conspiracy that drives me the more.
Palantir is the AI firm used by Israel and ICE for surveillance. Its founder, Peter Thiel, appears over 2,200 times in the Epstein files. Here's what we found. Through their often cryptic communications, Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein revealed that they viewed crises as opportunities, flippantly referring to wars abroad. In June 2014, Thiel said that creating a mess in the rest of the world could limit US intervention. Epstein also talked to Thiel about foreign currency devaluation with enthusiasm. Thiel was invited to Epstein's island, and they expressed loyalty to one another, like in this 2015 email, where Thiel reassured the convicted sex offender that he was not at all intimidated by bad press. Epstein frequently connected people to Thiel, notably Israeli politician Ehud Barak. In recently leaked audio from 2013, Epstein encouraged Barak, at the time Israel's defense minister, to look into Palantir. Today, Israel is one of Palantir's most lucrative clients. Palantir provides predictive policing technology and artificial intelligence for automated decision-making, according to a 2025 UN report. When asked in 2024 what he thought of the Israeli army using AI to bomb Gaza, here's what Thiel said.
Broadly, the IDF gets to decide what it wants to do, and that they're broadly in the right.
Palantir's biggest profits are from the US Department of Defense, which has committed to spending $2 billion. The Department of Homeland Security has allocated over $300 million to Palantir. By January 2026, ICE had adopted Palantir's tracking tool called Elite, which extracts addresses from healthcare data to locate immigrants, as reported by 404 Media, based on internal ICE documents. Despite the evidence, Palantir claims on its website that it is not a surveillance company. We're obliged to point out that being mentioned in the Epstein files is not evidence of wrongdoing, but from what has been made public, it's clear the convicted sex trafficker had a close relationship with Thiel and took an interest in his business. A business that's still thriving with its contracts with the world's richest and most powerful entities, which critics say pose real dangers to vulnerable people.
A CBS News investigation has uncovered a loophole that allows accused and convicted American pedophiles to escape justice by moving to Israel.
Jewish Community Watch, an organization that hunts down accused pedophiles who flee to Israel from the U.S., exploiting a process called Law of Return, whereby any Jewish person can move to Israel and automatically gain citizenship. Yom Tov pled guilty in 2002 to sexually abusing and committing lewd acts against 3 other boys. He served jail time, but when he was released, he violated his probation and, according to JCW, fled to Israel with help from individuals within the Orthodox Jewish community.
The same thing that's going on in the Catholic Church right now around the world, the exact same thing happens in our community. The rabbis say it's, you know what, he promised he's going to go for therapy, he's never going to do it again. Boom, he's in another community. A few years later, he's at the same thing, and we hear more allegations that the person continued to abuse children.
And often, those abusers end up in Israel.
Why would someone want to help one of these pedophiles escape?
Oftentimes, there's some sort of community incentive. Either somebody owes them a favor, or someone in the community, let's say an institution, has covered up for them in the past, and they know that if this goes to court, there's a lot of civil liability coming down the line.
Shauna accuses the Israeli police of not prioritizing accused pedophiles on the run.
Why do you have to be the ones that do this?
Because nobody else is. That's really, I don't have any better answer than that.
And if you guys weren't doing it?
Then nobody would do it.
If American officials don't try to get accused pedophiles from Israel, then they simply escape justice and leave children at risk.
Why do they say more pedophiles aren't being apprehended?
So it's very complicated when you leave the United States and go to Israel. First, they say that once these people are wanted, that they need to go to Interpol and have that international arrest warrant put out for them so that the Israeli authorities can then start looking for them. Extradition is expensive, and a lot of these jurisdictions just don't have the money or manpower to really pursue them. A lot of the times, these people have help. And help within the community, people that help them flee to Israel.
These are elaborate schemes.
They are, and they need a lot of people to pull off. And they say that there needs to be a conversation within the community about not protecting people.
Let me tell you about Jonas. Jonas is 19 years old. He studies law in Munich. In his spare time, he likes to play soccer. Jonas has a secret which he thinks he cannot share with anyone, not even with his best friend or with his parents. He's just too afraid of anger, rejection, and repulsion. Jonas knows that he has to suppress his sexual drive for his entire life. And he also knows that there will never be a loving and fulfilling partnership that he can enter. Because Jonas is a pedophile. He's only attracted to female children between the ages of 6 and 12 years. But since he's aware of the consequences for the children, he has never given in to his sexual drive. What is pedophilia? And what is it not? In the ICD-10, the International Classification System for illnesses, pedophilia is coded as the sexual preference for pre-adolescent children. It is listed under the sexual disorders. Whether the persistent occurrence of sexual thoughts and feelings for pre-adolescent children have been acted upon or not is not relevant to the diagnosis. Like every other sexual orientation, pedophilia can have different characteristics. For example, it can be heterosexual, it can be homosexual, bisexual. Some pedophiles are exclusively attracted to children. Others are not exclusively attracted to children, but they're also sexually interested in adults. But their main sexual interest lies within children. Only if this main sexual interest is given, we talk about pedophilia. The vast majority of all pedophiles are men, about 99%. Within the male population, 1 to 2% are considered to be pedophiles. This translates to about 60 million people worldwide. This is as much as the population of Italy or of South Africa. Therefore, pedophilia is not an irrelevant phenomenon we can't simply ignore. Chances every one of you knows at least one pedophile are higher than that you don't know anyone. We haven't found out yet why pedophilia occurs. There are biological, social, and psychological factors to it. It occurs unrelated to socio-economical status and unrelated to educational level. So generally speaking, anyone could be born a pedophile. It is crucial to understand the difference between pedophilia and child sexual abuse, which is illegal and must always be. Pedophilia is only the sexual preference for pre-adolescent children. The difference between child sexual abuse and pedophilia becomes very obvious when we look at scientific studies. Think about it for yourself. What do you think? What percentage of child molesters are pedophiles? Have a guess. Is it 20%, 40, 60, maybe even 80%? In fact, scientific studies indicate that only 20 to 30% of all child molesters are pedophiles. The vast majority of perpetrators are not pedophiles, but they're sexually interested in adults. Children can easily become victims of child sexual abuse because of their loyalty and because of ease of access. For example, a stepfather might abuse his stepdaughter because he feels anger or jealousy towards her mother. Not every pedophile abuses children, and not everyone who abuses children is a pedophile. Differentiating between these two groups is essential. Let me be very clear here. Abusing children is wrong without any doubt. But a pedophile who doesn't abuse children has done nothing wrong. I want to quickly summarize where we are at the moment. According to current research, pedophilia is an unchangeable sexual orientation, just like, for example, heterosexuality. No one chooses to be a pedophile. No one can cease being one. The difference between pedophilia and other sexual orientations is that living out this sexual orientation will end in a disaster. So let's think about Jonas again. How can we help him not to cause such a disaster?
In other words, sympathy for the devil. That's what she's blabbing all about. Let's show sympathy to the devil for being a devil, right? Personally, I believe this lady here, she's a victim. She's a victim of the same thing she's advocating for. She's having that cognitive dissonance, even MK Ultra being done to her. That's why they put her here. If you start to understand the pattern of the wicked elite, you start to understand how evil these whole people are, it's not far-fetched. I totally believe that she's a victim herself. There's a certain point when she was talking, you can see her voice kind of like crack, like she was feeling something, right? I believe she's a victim of a pedo. Something was done to her. That's why they put it in your face. They put a young lady in your face defending pedophiles, right? Show sympathy to the devil. That's how the devil works. If he can get you to think, oh, we're just born this way, there's nothing we can do to change it, and try to help us, you know? And then they'll play with your emotions. Meanwhile, they're having islands and trafficking children, abducting children, and doing all kinds of vile things to them. Nothing about that is excusable. Whether you're thinking in your head and it's your sexual preference, and nothing about it is excusable. You should be punished by the extent of the law, by the extent of whatever means, hanged for even thinking like that, for even wanting to be like that. There's something really wrong with you. You are not okay. You are fucked up. Excuse my French. Before we go any further, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakaha Kodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000 down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in these latter days, who are all of the elect, and to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all I say shalom, which means peace to you, right? You know, I was going through some of these clips, and I came across this one. I've seen this clip a while back, and this it was a TED talk done in way back 2018, just to show you how much they've been trying to get in the minds, because they know eventually all these things are going to come out, right? It's going to come out, what they've been up to, what they've been doing. So they're trying to find sympathy for who they are, for being this vile, evil to the core, rotten to the core individuals, right? So they try to play with your emotions. Oh, we're not so bad. We're just like you, just because we like to screw little girls and little boys, right? That's the only difference. Well, that's a huge difference, you asshole, right? There's a huge difference. If you think about that and this is what you're into, you are effed up. We are not alike. You know, you're not like me, I'm not like you, right? And I know a lot of you out there feel the same way, but this is how they get you. There's a reason it wasn't a man up there talking this thing, right? It wasn't like a man in his 50s, 60s up there trying to justify this. Right away, you look at it like, man, this is not okay. Well, they had to use a young girl, right? Appealing with the voice and all of that to get in your head and convince you that, the pedos are not so bad. The PDFs, they're not so bad. They're just people. Let's show them some leniency. No, F that. You know, F that. They're supposed to be hanged off with their heads. That's what I say. That's the only help for them. You see, if you think about doing that kind of stuff to a child, it's something really, really wrong with you. Seriously wrong with you, man. You see, it's inexcusable. It's totally inexcusable, but this is how they get down. And they have all the power in the world. They had that term that came out, MAP, said to stop calling them pedophiles, to call them minor attracted persons. I mean, could you imagine that? They're doing everything in their power to make it so you wouldn't look at them in a bad way. That's why you had Trump saying the whole thing about Epstein file and people and these young boys and girls getting molested is boring. Let's move on to the next thing, right? That's why they have them saying things like that. Because to them, you shut up. You know, just shut up. Let's do what we do. This is how we do. Let's go on to the next. Look at the Dow. It's 50,000, right? Don't keep happing about Epstein and the files and the victims and the molested. No, stop talking about that. Right? Because we're never going to stop. They're never going to stop. They don't intend to stop. So you're never going to have any arrest happen. Because the people, they told it themselves that they should arrest all the people involved. Then the whole system will collapse because it's every single one of them, both on the left or on the right. It's all of them, right? So you're making excuses for these people, man. That is fucked up. You should check yourself. If you're making excuses for them, you should check yourself. You see? So we're gonna have to put that together, but let's get some few scriptures here real quick. This is in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter. So this is to let you understand the minds of these people, the wicked elites, their minds. They are hell-bent on just doing whatever that pleases them, right? Whatever that is appealing to their flesh, whatever is appealing to their lust. They want to live it all out. This is their mindset right here. So start from the first verse. It says, for the ungodly said reasoning with themselves, but not aright. So they're reasoning with themselves. Well, what they're reasoning with is not okay. Just like you have this young lady here talking about this thing. No matter how much she's trying to sugarcoat it, there's nothing about what she's saying that makes it okay. No matter how much you try to put it, that is not okay. You see? It says, our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to return from the grave. This is where you get that YOLO. We only live once, so do as thou wilt. Right? It says, for we are born at all adventure, we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath in our nostrils is as a smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart. It says, which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air. It says, our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance. For our life shall pass away as the trace of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. It says, for our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning. For it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again. Come on, therefore. So they said all these things. This is all their reasoning, which is all bull crap, right? But this is a justification for doing what they do, for having Epstein Islands and various other islands that they torture and cannibalize children and sodomize children and do all kinds of things that they do to children, right? So this is their justification for all of this. Just like the lady over there is trying to justify being a pedo. It says, come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. That's why they call you goyim and cattle, they're cows. So, to them, your life is really not worth anything. If they want to abuse you, so be it. If they want to torture you and do all kinds of abominable things to your children, you should shut up and take it. This is how they feel. Because they have all the money, they have all the power, they have all the resources. It says, let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass us by. In other words, let's just gorge ourselves. Let's just totally, whatever it is we want to do, let's do it. Party like it's 1999, right? Party like it's our last time on the earth. The freak off parties that they have, the Rothschild's parties where they put on masks and just totally debase themselves. See? It says, let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place. They have all these set up mansions and islands and everywhere, showing signs that, yeah, this is what we do. This is how we live it up. This is who we are. And we'll live this way to the very end of us. So you have documents in the millions exposing these things, what they're into, in the millions. You see? So for this is our portion, and our lot is this. So they understand this. This is their time. The evil guys, the wicked elite who are all Edomites, this is their time to rule and do whatever it is they got to do. And it's all in wickedness. And this is exactly what they've done and are still doing. It goes on to say, let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. So part of that oppressing the poor righteous man is, it comes in taxation, it comes in the cost of living being through the roof, it comes in adopting your kids and doing vile things to them, right? It comes in turning everything upside down. Men have become women, women have become men. Everything is all, this is all part of that oppressing the poor righteous man. This is how they get a kick. They get a kick out of it. It goes on to say, let our strength be the law of justice. That's why none of them are getting arrested. It's telling you here, let our strength be the law of justice. So the DOJ cannot do crap to these guys. Why? Because their strength is the law of justice. It's what they say goes. Rules for you and not for them. You see? So for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not after our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. So the righteous will abhor pedophiles. The righteous will abhor the ways, the evil ways of the wicked elites, because he doesn't condone that kind of lifestyle. So to them, you become a mortal enemy to them, right? They hate you with everything they got. They hate your guts, because likewise, you hate them and everything they stand for, meaning the righteous. So there's a friction between the righteous and the wicked. Like it says here, because he is not for our turn. He is clean contrary to our doings. You will never see a righteous individual go to Epstein Island. You never see a righteous individual justify torturing, eating, cannibalizing, sodomizing children. That is never, a righteous individual will never do that. A righteous person will never tell you to move on from it. that is boring. He would never say something like that, or she. See? So he upbraided us with our offending the law and objected to our infamy, the transgression of our education. So the righteous holds them accountable. Like, you guys are filthy. You are scumbags. You shouldn't be doing this, what you're doing. You should be held accountable for everything you've done. And they understand that. And they hated it. They hate it. Why would the righteous do that? Well, they say there in the 13th verse, he professed to have the knowledge of the Most High, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. So that is why the righteous will not go to these freak-off parties. The righteous will not condone the evil ways of the wicked. That's never going to happen. So going back, let's get here in Wisdom of Solomon, the 12th chapter, to really let you know how these individuals, what they do in this islands and these places, and what they do with your children, what they really do with your children, because these practices go back thousands of years ago. You know, it just resurfaces. Every empire that comes on, it resurfaces, because this goes back to ritualistic, satanic worshiping and witchcraft. That's what it is. So this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 12th chapter. Let's start at the 3rd verse. It says, for it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers, but those old inhabitants of the Holy Land. So before the children of Israel moved into the Holy Land, Israel, they were old inhabitants, the Canaanites, which all they did was this witchcraft and all of that, sacrificing kids and pedos, bestiality, all that kind of vile things, witchcraft, drinking blood, all those things, right? It says even eating children. It's all here. It says, whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcraft. So they did the most odious works of witchcraft. In other words, it's not just bad, it is really, really, really fucked uply bad. Excuse my French. And wicked sacrifices. Isn't that what we're seeing? With all this information coming out of what your politicians and the elites, what they indulge themselves in. That's exactly what it is. And this book was written way, way before all these things came out. You see? Because there's always been that. They've always been doing that. Like the scripture tells you, there's no new thing under the sun. It says, and also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of men's flesh. You see that? So they really do cannibalize children. They murder them, abuse them, torture them, and then they devour their flesh, consume it, eat it. It goes on to say, and the feasts of blood. That's where you get your adrenochrome from. So the Bible has always been right. You just got to read. If you have the Spirit within you to see that this is exactly what is happening right now. Right now. And none of them is being held accountable for this. Why? Because they're all in on it. Every single one of them. It says, with their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew. So this is a crew like, what is his name? George Carlin said, is a big club and you are not in it. So that club, this is the idolatrous crew. This club they're in, they look out for one another because they're all fucked up in the head. And the parents that killed with their own hands souls destitute of help. So you had parents that will take their children to all this party and have them become meat to these things. There was it said Lexner took his family to the Epstein Island. You can imagine what happened down there. And you have these celebrities that sacrifice their own children. If they're not sacrificing them, they are changing their genders, which is all still part of the sacrifice, to change their genders and turn them into straight up bug outs. Because your parents are supposed to be the one to help you and set you in the right path. But the scripture says, train up a child in the way he should grow. And when he's old, he will never depart from it. But the parents didn't do that. basically sacrifice their children. See? So that the land which thou esteemest above all other might receive a worthy colony of the Most High's children. See? So this is what has happened. Back before the Israelites took over the land, the people that were doing these things had to be wiped off. They had to be destroyed. So in this present world right now, the people that are involved in all this witchcraft and blood drinking and sacrificial ritualistic practices of children and all of that, guess what? They will be wiped out. They will get their just due very, very soon. But before that happens, we are in the revelation stage. They have to be revealed. Everything has to come out. That's why it's all coming out. And many more is going to come out. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty, man. What they've been into is all kinds of abominable stuff. You just have to hold on till all this revelation happen. Then our Heavenly Father will deal with every single one of them. That's for sure. That is for sure. And with that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahushua, Ba'Hashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.